Piano colors. The answer to the question, what would happen if you took new and experimental playing techniques to push the sound of the piano as far as possible, together with arpeggiators, tonal shifts, and a new and expanded particles engine. Now, I know Piano Colors is not new, it's been out for a while. I still find it inspiring and a little bit intimidating. Maybe you found it intimidating. Hopefully we can together become less intimidated by this beautiful instrument. So we're going to explore the 6 sections of this instrument and how we can use them to craft unique sonic experiences. Let's meet Piano Colors. So the first thing we notice about Piano Colors is, in fact, the colors and the piano in the middle. Now, this is a collaboration between Native Instruments and Galaxy Instruments, the ones who brought us Noir and the Definitive Piano Collection, and now Claire, Una Corda, so on, so forth. So we have the hand-in-hand piano. Which you heard earlier, supported by a brass sound from modular synth. So let's look at the 6 sections of Piano Colors. So we have the arpeggiator, currently not running. We have noises, we have layer 1, layer 2, particles, and our global control. The global control is, as you would expect, the control of everything. And so let's do this real quick. So the global control, and then we'll go back to the other sections. We have our equalizer there, and let me see if I drag this down a bit. The resizability of kontakt 8. So we have our equalizer, which has our sub, our body, our whack, our crunch. It's funny how they name these things differently based on what you're... on which instrument you're looking at. And then we have our dynamics control, which is the one running right now. So there's a compressor, saturation, mild saturation, input, character, attack, release, mix. And then we have our velocity, which is right now linear. We could put it up to, what could we do? Well, that's too close. We could go hardest. You can have it a control 88 to control 25 through 61. Those are different controllers, and the response will be different. Linear is where I like to leave it. It's kind of like a diagonal line across your screen, whereas softer is kind of... It's less noticeable on an instrument like this, I will say. We'll leave it at linear for now. And then we have our pitch bend. Our tuning to 440, and it's stretched, though we can make it equal. Let's see how it sounds stretched. Yeah, I can hear the difference a little bit. I don't know if it's that obvious, but one of the notes in the triad is shifted. It sounds a little bit warmer. Maybe it's a little bit flatter. So those are the global controls. All right. And then if we go back up here, we can look at the layers. Now, when you hit layers, we're only using layers and particles engine right now. Seems like layer 2 is off. What happens when we turn it on? It's empty. Okay. So these are the bow octaves. So we turn particles off, and you get a sense of how layers can be formed. Now, there are 2 layer options, and if we were to layer both layers, then we would find let's see, that there would be another sound. Now, right now it's off. Okay, so now it's on. Okay, so if we turn off layer 1, you can hear layer 2 by itself. So that is what it would sound like if it were by itself. Now this is a mallet felt, so felt and mallet playing techniques. It's a very soft and mellow sound. So we'll go ahead and turn that off. Now, if we go over to the particles, we'll come back to how you can adjust the things here in a minute. Particles is that particles engine, which we're familiar with from Noir, which based on the notes you play, it will play notes around it that harmonize and complement. And you can tell it where to do it. Right now we're in the close by, and here's the algorithm. It is an algorithm-based noise generator, we could call it, simply put. Now close by, we can have it be high and bright, which means it'll always be high even if you go. Okay. Close by means that they're close to the notes that you're actually playing. Okay, and just by adjusting these settings, you can choose how what tone it sounds like, what tone you get from this engine, rather. Now, this Particles engine has a few more options. This one it shares with the one in Noir, and it has your pre-delay, decay, your variation. This is how much it's varying. We have it synced. Here's our density. We can make it much more dense or less dense. Ooh. Okay, that's a little fluttery. Let's put it back to... Okay, and our variation is to 1/4, to 1/2. I think I like it to 1/4, that's why they have it that way. And then double. Let us ask it what double does. Double. Activates a double feature to achieve a more balanced stereo image of the particle sound by placing the events equally throughout the stereo field. If inactive, the events generated by the particle engine are panned in an aleatoric, meaning random, fashion. Okay, so that's a trick. If you want to know information about these parts and you're not having it, you go to the View menu. Let's pull it down. Go to View. Okay, and then make sure info is checked. If info is not checked, then you can do this and it won't tell you anything. So I'm going to leave info on because I like knowing what is happening. So, okay, a variation. So let's look at what they say. Variation. Variation adjusts to vary the time values between the triggered particle events. When sync is activated, the note values will be varied and the resulting cloud sequence gets more complex. We've already seen what it does. So, all right. Now over on this side we have effects. We got a transient attack. Punch. Is punch turned on? Oh, this is interesting. A lot more variation in here. So strength. Adjust the volume of the diffusion space added to the particle cloud. So space is one of those things. It means reverb, or the amount of like physical space around the thing. So So, and some settings may be easier to tell what it's doing than others. Now this one adjusts the time there by the length of the diffusion space in milliseconds. So how long, let's say how long the reverb holds out, how long it lasts, that you would say the tail of the reverb or the space. And this too is synced. Diffusions, synchronize the diffusion and delay presets to a tempo. All right. Right now it's turned off, isn't it? Yeah, let's put it back in the middle. Okay, transient attack. It's 1-to-1. So we do. Because that would be really fast. This would be really slow. See, that's a very long, this is still going, tail on there. So that's one thing you can do with effects. Sources, with pumper. We could change it to mallet wood. Mixed pads. Paper rattle, it's going to be interesting. We could easily spend a whole episode on each section, so if you're interested in that, let me know. We can explore them together. Okay, so we got pluck wood, pumped mallets. Pump mallets 2. Pumper, which is where it was. Pumper 2. Pure soft. So this means it's primarily piano sounds. Now, there's a lot we could go into here, but we do want to get back to the layers. And what we have happening here is there's a tonal shift. The sub is also working, so it's already inspiring me. I'm getting distracted by the sounds. So our tonal shift, we can look up what it says. Sub changes the volume of the sub microphone, as we would expect. And our tonal shift here changes the playback speed of each sample, which results in formant and character changes. Turning the tonal shift knob to the left will make the instrument sound sharper. So we've heard some sharpening happening there. Turning it to the right will result in a deeper, darker sound with less defined attack. Attack is that initial sound, like when the piano strikes the note, the initial sound, that's the attack. And all instruments have an attack. The piano just has a very well-defined attack. Some instruments like drums are, I want to say mostly attack. They're not mostly. They have a resonant sound after that, but they have an even stronger attack than a piano. It's the nature of percussion, I guess. So right now it's automatically moving the tonal shift from left to right. So it's it's making it happen on its own. Now pan is what you'd expect. Pan will set the position in the stereo field. We could move it left. We could move it right. This is my right, your left. So that's useful. We have the dynamics, and the dynamics is a compression. Compresses left or expands to right the piano's dynamic range while keeping the tonal character, the dynamic samples being triggered. So the tone is the same, but it limits. So if we go to the left, it compresses. If we go to the right, this is somewhat easier to hear on just a plain piano sample, but we'll do it. Now, what typically happens without these effects is that you can play really soft when you've expanded the range. When you compress it, you can play soft and it'll stay at a louder volume. So, for example, let's take let's bring up Noir. Here's our dynamic. Same thing. Okay, so now we'll compress it. Let's put it on the pure, then it'll be easier to hear on the pure one. You hear it still sounds like a piano, but it's like heavily compressed. And then if we were to expand it, see how you can almost play silently? And then you have to really dig in to get the volume up, which is why typically it's left in the middle at 0. Now, if you wanted a very like a fragile, not fragile, but then you take to color, and color as it changes the tone, color the left. So if we you're soften. That in-between shift is crazy. Anyway, that was a little detour into the dynamics, and we'll come back to our piano colors. As you can see, it's easier to hear what the dynamic shift is doing without the particle effects. So we can actually turn that off. And then we'll move on to the, much easier to tell on a regular piano sound. Okay, so over on the layer 2, we have a similar thing. We have our color, we have our pan, and we have our color. See, it changes the tone or the timbre from soft to hard by readjusting the sample mapping. Turning the color knob to the right will make the instrument sound harder, crisper, and with more attack. Turning it to the left will make the instrument sound warmer, softer, and with less attack, which again you can tell more on the straight up piano sounds, which we'll go to one in just a moment here. So then we have the same, it's basically the same things over here. Now here we have resonance, depth, and overtones which are turned off right now. And we have the AD, oh, well, you can't see that, can you? Let me move it on over so you can see everything we're talking about. Okay, then we have the ADSR, or attack, decay, sustain, release. Let's go to no, I want a sound that sounds like a piano. Okay. So we'll turn particles off for a minute. So let's change the attack. Okay. Now you notice you're not hearing that click, that initial sound attack. It is somewhat softened. So if you can imagine the attack being a big line and then everything coming down below it, the rest of the sound. When you do this, you can make it softer. Sounds a little more mysterious. And then the tail, the decay, we can adjust the length of that as well. I believe there is a big reverb on it, which is helping it to sustain. It's somewhere. I haven't found it yet. It's the release. the release sound. Now the decay, we adjust the release. The release is how long it allows the sound to ring out, so you can hear a bit of digital clipping as I do this. And sustain is also one of those things it helps with. If there's no sustain, you basically have no sound in this case. Let's turn the release. Okay, so that's playing, and they both do the same thing on the same side. Now this one, sample, on, off, activate the release samples for a natural room decay where available. That could be useful. Oh, and here's the space that we were hearing. So if we were to turn that off, and here we could see what kind of space it's using. We're using the convolution sound, and it's the piano space. This must be for layer 2 over here. And it's cool that you have these done separately. So this is the midsection of the layers, and then we have our tone. Okay, tone is where we land normally. Then we have our mod effects. It gets very deep in the editing here. Okay, so air. So this is some high end on this particular sound. That's one of the meanings of air. And then we got all these slots are empty. You could put more utilities in them, like let's put a drive in there. Drive, okay. Take me back, take me back. Okay. Oh, it didn't actually let me do it, did it? Okay. It's an analog drive. Oh, we got to turn it on. I sound like this is probably not going to be driven very much. So let's go back to our tone and see if we cut the attack. Power buttons for either side here. So see what we got on channel. We got our equalizer. And again, this is not the global equalizer. This is the per side. So here it's called bottom, which will be their bass. Whack. I guess it'll be what they're choosing for the mids here. And then presence. And you got adjusters for each of those. It sets the frequency of the high and mid frequency band. Okay. And this one. Okay, so these two, okay, so this is the frequency, the low mids. So the whack is our low mids. So this is like a parametric. This is our lows. And in this case, it's between a shelf. This one's control the toggle between the shelf or bell filter type for the low band. So it's a low band. So right now, we're in a bell shape. If we went to, again, that shows where it is. Should be able to change it to a shelf. Doesn't look very shelf-like right now. Oh, interesting. So sub is even lower. You could adjust what these things do differently, and when you links the controls of all 4 equalizer bands, and this allows for a quick increase or decrease of current settings. So when we do this, they should all be moving. Okay. Definitely need to delve more into this. Point is, you can modify a crazy amount if you wanted to, or you could go through all the presets, which we're going to do in a moment here. So motion is that whole other world here. So set the modular speed in milliseconds or when sync is activated in note values. I don't think sync is activated right now. Wow. This instrument continues to amaze and stump me as I go into the depths of the editing possibilities. So let's talk about presets, which you can do if you want to. I highly recommend looking at presets whenever you get a virtual instrument like this, because you'll see that you can then see what they've done with the settings and layers and particles. Layers has layers on layers, as we just discovered. Okay, tonal shift is animated in this one as well. Okay. All right. And let's see, we got analog synth here. So, noises. We haven't looked at noises yet. So our mechanical noises. So we turn particles off so we can hear what we're. So if I turn this off, this is already like a felt piano, so our sustain pedal. And the sustain pedal has, of course, your damper sound as our pedal. Okay, pedal, and then our rumble. And our string release. All of this makes up the sound that is your pedal sound, and here's the global volume for it. So I've made it very extreme. Then we have our mechanical sounds, which are your keys. We need just like a piano sound. There's a butter piano. There we go. So we got our sounds of. Let's turn them up so you can hear them. So the mechanical sounds. That would be an extreme. Now, some might find that very distracting, or it sounds like something's broken. But if you wanted that effect for some reason to make it more ominous, we could turn them off. Now this is the volume of everything. And our crossfade does a balance for the note on and note off mechanical noises. So there's a sound when you engage the note. There's a sound when you release the note. Let's turn it up so you can hear. Engage, release. And so that's see the balance for that. The note on noises are on the left side and note off are on the right side of the knob. Okay, in the middle creates a position of equal balance. So if you wanted the note on sound to be more prominent or less prominent than the note off sound. Okay, you want the note on sound to be more prominent than the note off sound. Or a note off. That's actually pretty cool. Now, I might actually lean to having the note off sound quieter. So. but perhaps not that much, because that makes the note on sound, mechanical sound, very loud. Now, of course, if we do it like this, back to where I had it, and then we have our low cut, which this reduces the low frequency content of the mechanical noises, which is very important if you are running this through a system with a subwoofer, because if you are, it's going to sound like a million drum hits, especially if you play like. Right? So I took that a little bit longer than necessary, I think. So we can do the low cut at, let's say, 136 hertz. I was going for 130, but so it means less of that will go to the subwoofer. You can even have it do it. So this is even higher frequency, which does in effect make them a little more crisp sounding. Then we could lower the overall volume to something more natural. I think you'd say that's not natural yet. Let's keep going. Okay, and then we already adjusted the different ones in the sustain. Let's go. Let's bring it down more. There we go. The sustain a little bit louder, because that lets you know, at least it lets me know, that this is not just a keyboard sample. Right. Then we have our attack. So attack, we already know what attack is, what it does. Adjust the attack of, well, in this case, mallet rub. So let's see. Yeah, it will be disconcerting for that loud, so yeah, that's nice. So this is some kind of felt. Yeah, mallet felt. It's a felt piano. So it looks like they have both sides on. Okay, and they're slightly different from each other. There's no tonal shift happening on layer 2. All right, and I think no sub as well. Okay, so let's go back to noises, because there was another section. We have the pianist. Now, pianist was introduced in una corda, and that is the sound of the piano player moving around. So this is it. So to read the descriptions, activated, it's the noises created by the pianist and piano, such as squeaks, breaths, rumbles, etc. Pianist noises are only triggered when the piano is actually being played. You can also trigger additional piano noises when using aftertouch. Very cool. Now, I think with una corda, the pianist would randomly move around even when you weren't doing anything. It's just sitting there. I don't know. All right, so I like noises. I like pianist noise. So we have our intensity. This is how rigorous the piano gets. The pianist gets. Okay, the rate of ambient noises created by the pianist and the squeaks breath. So you hear the pianist there. Now, if I let up my finger, it should stop making those noises. But if I put it down, okay. And okay, so the rate could be more frequent. That's a natural level. We could increase the volume to Now, I'm a big fan of these noises. It makes it seem more real to me, like you're dealing with an actual acoustic situation as opposed to just a recording of one. Now, finally, in this noises section, we have noise, as one would think of it. And I'm going to turn the volume up so we can hear it better. Now you say, why would you want to put noise back in? We just worked very hard with digital to make everything clean. Well, the fact of the matter is, clean digital, people started realizing it's too clean. We actually want to make it sound dirty, messy, noisy. And so we have the sound of tube mics, and that's what, if you can see, you can't see my level meters. But they're hovering at minus 42 dB right now. And you can kind of see the level meters in the corner right here. And doing that. So let's see. Let's go up to. So that's one sound, and you have here a variety of sounds from which you can choose. We have Sal 3, Nils Fromm's studio, and that's stereo. Have it in mono. We also have Silent Room. Yes, Silent Room makes noise. I get it. It sounds like an oxymoron. Silent Hall. We have 3 versions of Silent Room. We have Silent Hall. Okay. We have Silent Hall mono. Let's go tape. Sound of tape, 15 IPS, 7.5 IPS. Ooh, even wider. We have wow and flutter. Smooth. Cheap. Cassette recorder. That's got to be interesting. Oh, let me be quiet for this one for a minute. Okay, cassette recorder. Now, I did a lot with cassette tapes as a kid, so this it's a familiar sound for me. Of course, in this case, you would probably have it something more like this. Okay, and there are a bunch of other sounds. We could turn it back up to hear them. I believe, let's see, broken. Ooh, yeah. Very broken sounding. And we have our vintage hiss. Mm-hmm. And tube mics, where we started. Sounds very thick. Approaching from white to more like pink noise. Cheap mics. And then we got dirty radio tuning. I want to see if they have. Oh yes, they have Rainy Sunday. This is carried over from Nora. So it's like rain on the outside of your building. A whole mood here. I'm going to keep rolling with it. Okay. That is our rainy Sunday mood. Okay, so if we go ahead and we turn off that noise there, and we go to our arpeggiator. Now, for our arpeggiator, we're going to go back to aleatoric sequences. Now, here are different level. I don't know any other way to describe it than this is what an arpeggiator looks like, and I'm familiar with this from session strings. We could actually change some timings. Now, it's not going through them sequentially. Rather, in this case, it's going through them randomly. There are different articulations. So having that on top of particles, let's turn particles off so we can hear the arpeggiator. So we could probably, let's, if it ever hits that one, because, oh, there we go. So clearly the taller it is, the louder it is. So maximum. So you could limit it to where they're all pretty quiet. And these are MIDI values. So max is 127. And then minimum, let's see, ooh. This is almost like a compressor, the way it's evening out the volume. So we got 18 steps. How to add more steps is a part I need to learn, but you can. Okay, now we can humanize the time because right now it's quantized. So let's. It's quantized in random, which makes it already kind of human-ish. So, this adjusts to add a human feel to the timing of individual pattern events in a random fashion. Already sounds pretty random. Ooh, okay. Alright. Repetition, 4 times, 2 times, 3 times, single, okay. That's the way it's going, random chord. So, 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3 down, right here. Okay, levels on levels. Okay, now we can make them really short and choppy. Okay, so these are called events, pattern events, as it says down there. So, and these that's kind of where it was. They run into each other. You can make more choppy. And we've humanized 100%. We could. Yes, humanize. Velocity, the overall velocity of the pattern events. Okay. Well, that's similar to what we did with here. Although this is like setting a limit. Rather than... Oh, this just makes all the velocities 127. Which is the loudest MIDI velocity you can have. So I think right in the middle was about right. I think that's 100, okay. And the velocity mix. Okay, adjust the pattern, the way the pattern reacts to the input velocity. Moving the slider left will use the velocities of the step sequence, while moving the slider right will make the arpeggiator reset to the input velocity of the keys being played. Okay, so right now it's in the middle. So if we go hard on here, let me readjust the length so we can see this better. So now, even if I play softly, it's going to be that same volume. Now, we shift it all the way over to the right. Depends on how hard I play the keys. So, Or I could play them all harder. It's another layer of perhaps confusing control. At this point, we're basically making like wind chimes. So the height affects it somewhat, but it's more controlled by how hard I'm hitting these keys here. And perhaps there are other patterns that would make this a little more pleasant to hear. But that's our adjustment here. And now the overall time, the rate, the note values for the pattern playback. Right now we're at eighth notes. D. I'm not sure what. I know T is triplets. I'll have to learn what D means. So this will make him go faster. Good way to demonstrate how the velocity is working with that. Okay. So that is our, okay, now we're on random. We do loop. Pedal to sustain, favor new notes. Okay, it's not set to re-trigger very much. Okay. Yeah. So these are other settings. Ooh. Oh my. So let's go as played. We could change the number of steps here, couldn't we? Can we? No. Okay. So it's a blend between start up and down. Or zigzag. Cool. Move in. There are probably other settings in which that would be easier to understand what it's doing. Easier to hear what it's doing, rather, with the move in or move out. Okay, so each of these are events in the arpeggiator, and we can have more than 18 values. All right, so we've gone over the arpeggiator, the noises, the layers, the particles, and the global. Now, in our remaining minutes, let's look at presets. If you don't want to get into all of that, and you just want to use what's on the front panel, this is one thing I believe I showed in the previous dive into piano colors. But here's a control here. And this is the expression knob, and it controls all modulations of the instrument. Think of it as your super knob if you were playing a Yamaha montage. It controls everything, or multiples. In this case, it's everything. And it's also tied to the mod wheel. And it's connected to, so this is the expression knob tied to my mod wheel. So if I were to, and you notice the colors adjust as we do this. Let's pick one that has more colors. And of course, you can adjust the expression knob independently of the mod wheel simply by going up here and this button next to it. Okay, so here's the things it's adjusting. Okay, so we could have it adjust these things with it. This will be fun. The LFO and the velocity. But by default, it's not adjusting these things. So if I go, so it takes the expression knob, set the time it takes the expression knob to react to the velocity a key after a key is pressed. That's it. Now, I think in some cases they do have them actually shimmering like that. Let's pick another preset. I'm going to close that. Back in time. So we got two layers happening here, no arpeggiator or particles. So let's hear them by themselves. Here's our reverse resonance on layer 2. We got a flageolet setting on the layer 1. It's normally a guitar thing. Okay, let's see. In mod, we got timbre, 40s radio. We got a drive happening on the other side. Channel. Okay, and we have that, and our space has our convolution reverb. Okay, we got diffusion, we got replica. Ping pong. Oh, we could ping pong it. Which makes the delay go back and forth like that. Our motion. It's got a lot happening here. That's the direction of the modulation. Used to invert the LFO presets or reverse the step sequencer presets. Selecting both directions, the modulator direction will alternate between the two directions, which makes sense. Ooh. So there is a lot of depth in here, and to be found. As I learn more, I'll share more. And of course, there are other tutorials that show this. But right now, we're looking at presets for the next couple minutes here. So. Now, the cool thing is I'm using Kontakt 8. Well, the player 8, so it's not the it's the free version of Kontakt 8, but has all the same features. So we could go, when you touch these, you can hear a preview of what it'll sound like. This one sounds like everything's happening. Oh, it's just two things. Particles and noises. And the arpeggiator. Okay, so just the attack. Interesting, just the attack is on the noises, and in particles, we got high clouds. So no matter where I play, of course, the low notes will arpeggiate, but the particles will always be high up. Got brush percussion in here. We could change that. Flageolet. I wonder what harmonica short sounds like. Let's hear it. Ooh, that's pretty. So there's a lot to cover in piano colors that we simply can't get to in an hour, but hopefully this has somewhat demystified it and it's no longer intimidating. You know the different sections and you can continue to modify them to your heart's content if you have piano colors or if you're interested in getting it. Now, if you want to check out the original piano colors video, check out the next video here and also check out the recommended video that YouTube is recommending for you. Hopefully they nailed it. See you next time.